Cool. Hello, welcome to another Touchy Gooners podcast. My name is Lewis. I'm joined by Dan Koogs and Seun. Gentlemen, good evening to you. How you doing?
Yeah, not bad, man.
What up?
I interrupted you guys' conversation about weddings earlier, and I need to go to
it, man.
And it's just cool.
Allow it, man. Let's move on to the football, man. Let's move from one depressing subject to another. Yeah,
that's what I was gonna say. Is the football anything more depressing? Like anything less depressing, I should say.
It's all peak.
Yeah. Obviously, big up AJ. Tune in on YouTube, I believe. Big up you. Obviously we had our bit of fun. You know, was it 4 wins in a row? 4 wins in a row if we count AFC Wimbledon. We had a bit of fun, right? 4 wins in a row. We thought everything was going swimmingly. You know, we even did a podcast where I don't think we criticized one single player. Unheard of in the Touchy Gooners ranks. But, you know, yes, on Saturday it was due to be a tough game. I think we all penciled this game as being potential banana skin because we all know that Brighton are a decent side. You know, they were the XG Kings last year, I guess, or the contrary to that, I guess, where you know, they were the XG masters, but just couldn't convert their chances last season. And it's kind of been opposite for them this year, where they've kind of like gone in the opposite direction. And then coupled with that, it just, you know, the pitch conditions, everything was set up to be a very difficult evening at the Amex. And Dan, I'll start with you first. What did you think of? Obviously, the only real contentious thing in the team was that, you know, Lokonga starting. Would you have potentially liked to seen someone else come in for Xhaka, or was you happy that Lokonga got the opportunity?
Yeah, I think I can't really bemoan that decision. You know, everyone spoke about it in the summer. You heard various catchphrases, you know, raising the floor of the team, this, that, and the other. So when we had an injury to Partey, they said, because, you know, Granit Xhaka's Mr. Indestructible, plays every game, doesn't get injured. But when we had an injury to one of those two, Lokonga's there ready to step in. But he's, you know, sort of young, inexperienced. He's got a high ceiling that he can potentially reach, got lots of potential. And I think, you know what, that's all well and fine. But if your plan is to play 4-2-3-1 all season, I think at a minimum you probably need three really good or first team players there, because what you saw with Lokonga when he came in, and what we've seen so far this season, I think he's been okay. I don't think he's been bad at all. I think he's put in a couple sturdy performances. The Burnley one is the one that probably stands out the most to me. Brentford and was it Chelsea as well that he played in? I think he did okay in those matches. But I think it's clear that he's not quite at the level of Xhaka or Thomas Partey. So for me, it's a weird one that we went and decided that we're going to get someone like that, who there's a significant drop off. You heard Edu say in his interview, why would they go and buy someone to play on top of Xhaka and Partey when they're the best two? But I think that's poor squad planning, really. You buy someone that can come in and push them to be better, or push them and take one of their spots. You know, that's a competitive environment, and that's how you get better as a team. I don't think you really buy backups when your first two players they're not even really like all that good. If we're talking about Xhaka, you know, so I don't really understand that strategy, and I think, you know, with this Xhaka injury, it might come back to cost us long term.
Yeah. Seun, what about you? What's your thoughts on the whole Lokonga starting situation? Would you have gone with someone else, or a different setup entirely?
We don't have anybody else. The alternative was to, you know, go with Smith Rowe and Erdegaard as you sort of like eights, the interiors, but I've not really liked that so much when I've seen it. not to say it can't work and it might not work in the future, but I think it still needs work on the training ground. I think overall we look still best as a base, with, you know, a double pivot. And, you know, to Dan's point, I think Lokonga's done okay. And, you know, nothing really against him, but, you know, to the point in the summer people were making about raising the floor in terms of, I mean, that's all well and good, but that's not going to help us in the interim. Do you know what I mean? So really and truthfully, there are very few positions you could have looked at in 11 that you couldn't have upgraded in the summer. So I don't really want to harp back to that, but it's annoying that we spent 150 mil and we didn't, you know, upgrade enough in certain positions, especially further forward, in my opinion. So Arteta's very specific about build up, but, you know, the fact that we've still got Xhaka here starting after 4 or 5 years, I think is just abhorrent. It doesn't, you know, and I know people got on on Saturday were about, oh, we miss Xhaka, but, you know, I've seen loads of those performances with Xhaka in the team and worse. So yeah, it's not really a case for me about missing Xhaka. I've seen him get run ragged centrally through the central zones anyway. So yeah, I think Lokonga's okay, but it's just not enough. And you do worry, just like there's just not enough quality. There's a big quality gap in a lot of positions within the squad. We're relying on the youngsters further forward to make the difference for us, but they're young, so they're going to have on and off days. That's natural. So it should be the senior players stepping up, but those senior players, a lot of them aren't good enough in itself as well. So it's just a bit annoying. You know, we have a lot of young players and hopefully they improve in the years to come. But, you know, the worry, you know, when people talk about these guys, these young guys are going to grow. We thought the same with Fabregas and Nasri, but there's no guarantee, even if they reach the level we ideally want them to reach, that they're going to stay if we're not competing. And I guess on top of that as well, like that doesn't stop the other teams from getting better. So we've not made massive strides forwards, in my opinion, in terms of the first 11 and closing the gap to teams above us. And, you know, teams are only going to go and get stronger. They're only going to go and spend more hundreds of millions in summers to come. So, yeah, man, concerns. I'm not like, you know, I'm not trying to be too downbeat because, you know, people are getting on to me afterwards. They're like, oh, it's a draw, you know, it's still unbeaten in 5-4 wins and a draw. But overall, for me, it's the performances, you know, long term. I think a lot of people went a bit overboard in terms of the North London derby. That was great to win. It was a great derby victory, but, you know, those sort of performances won, you know, derby games, you know, sometimes are a bit hard to predict. And also they're just anomalies. You've seen 2 years worth of Arteta. In my opinion, you know what he is. And in my opinion, it's just very risk averse. It's not conducive to creating heavy chances. It's not conducive to sustaining attacks, keeping teams pending for long periods and scoring goals. We've seen it. In my opinion, we've got enough evidence. You know, I'm not, other people are more entitled to wait, and I'm sure they're going to give Arteta time because they backed him heavily. But for me, it's just not good enough, and it needs to improve and improve very, very quickly.
Let's stick on the topic of Lokonga, right? Because I want to have like a frank discussion about Lokonga. Okay, when we signed him, I did a bit of due diligence on him, and I wasn't totally convinced that he was a guy that was ready to come in and start. However, when you pay £20 million and he's your centre midfielder signing for the season, he kind of has to be that guy, right? He has to be ready to play football. I haven't seen anything from Lokonga that says to me that, yeah, this kid is going to be something special in the future. I'm not sure he's even better than like a Guendouzi level. I've said on here before, we speak about raising the floor, and people are going to laugh at this, but he's not better than Ceballos, you know. And fine, we can leave that guy in the past, whatever, but he isn't better than Ceballos. And I just wonder, like, you know, are you guys ready to sort of like what am I trying to say here? Are you guys ready to, you know, have a serious conversation about Lokonga and his level? Is it too early to judge him? You know, I don't want to do it too hastily because we are only in October. But yeah, what's your general thoughts on Lokonga so far? And has your opinions on him changed from, you know, when we bought him and like the first time you saw him, like in pre-season?
I think with Lokonga, it's a funny one. I don't want to bash him at all because he's coming from Belgian league. where he's played 5 Premier League games, if that 4 Premier League games. So I don't really want to talk too much about his level or say he's not good enough, this and the other, because he has shown a couple nice passes. I think the Burnley game showed a different side of his game that we didn't really know was there from previous scouting. He was very good in the duels there. He held his ground well. So I don't really want to get onto him too much. I think what was really showcased in this game was sort of around the tactics and how we were deploying him. So Lewis, I think you mentioned that he likes to drift out to that left back position when he's getting pressed, or when where teams are trying to build play, that kind of thing. And I feel like that was something that, I don't know whether that was instruction, because we know Xhaka likes to do that sometimes as well. And I know that Brighton were playing with a back 5, but I think that was something that was really costly to us in this game, especially in that first half, because he wasn't really playing in the centre of midfield. He was like in that left back position, and he sort of just left Partey to do midfield by himself, and I thought that was really costing us. So I think that would be the one thing that I would highlight about him from this game. And going forward, with this Xhaka injury, I would quite like to see Maitland-Niles be given a chance there, just as a purely defensive player, if that makes sense. So, like, I know people have been, raving on about getting Basuma in, and I look at the midfielders that we have and who's the closest one to that. I think Maitland-Niles probably is. Like, Basuma's not, a fantastic passer of the ball, but we know he can carry it. But his main strength is almost sort of his off the ball work, winning duels, getting stuck in, his recovery pace, and his ability to cover ground. And I think Maitland-Niles is someone who can do that to good effect. And maybe if you have someone in there who can cover that space effectively, it sort of frees up the amount of work that Partey has to get into. And I think that's something that Maitland-Niles probably has over Lokonga at present. But I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah, I'm not a big fan of Ainsley Maitland-Niles in midfield, but the issue is I'm not a huge fan of Lokonga even. I think, listen, we're no huge fans of Xhaka, and from time that the gap between yourself and Xhaka looks quite big, I can't see you ever being the level required to move us forward. Seun, what do you think? I can see you sort of like, I don't know. What are you thinking? I'm trying to work out what's what you're thinking.
No, yeah, I'm not trying. I'm trying not to make too many definitive conclusions at the moment. I think the sample size is still quite small. However, I do share both of your concerns. Not necessarily. I actually think he might grow into a good player. How good, we don't know. Sometimes we don't want to put cap on young players. They can surprise us. Saka's always the obvious example. We talk about how often he surprised us. So I'm not going to say he's going to do X or he's going to do Y, but I'm talking about right now. And to Dan's point, our recruitment planning, for me, it should have been focused on improving the starting 11 first and foremost, and those guys would be demoted to someone like Xhaka would become a bench player. So when you spend 20 mil, you just think we could have spent like a further 15 and just got a Bruno Guimaraes or a Bissouma, and that would have stood us in much better stead. Like you guys, Lokonga for me is just not at the level yet. Now, I don't know, maybe he needs just a sustained period of games, but I don't know. When I watch him, I feel like he's quite timid. I don't feel like he plays with enough personality. He did speak about the fact that, sometimes I think the distances between him and Partey, especially at the weekend, weren't great. Now, whether that was down to instruction, him covering the left back spot for Tierney. But one of the things I've said as well is that I don't want us to be accommodating any other people anymore. Like, do you know what I mean? I thought part of the reason we spent so much on guys like Tomiyasu, White, was that we could play a high line and we could squeeze and we could compress properly. So that meant we could play with a proper double pivot and squeeze higher up the pitch. Now it started as the first 10 minutes in this game, but it didn't, progress through the whole game. So I just think we need more. We need something else. We're just not seeing enough at the moment. So yeah.
Yeah, it might be something we're gonna have to play around with, because if Xhaka is out for, is it he's out until just like December, is it, or is it the new year?
Yeah, December. It's looking like Basically, he's going to be back in January.
So just before Partey goes to AFCON. So
Yeah.
it's looking like we're going to have to do some business in midfield, which, you know, is the business that we should have done in the summer. Funny enough. But all right, let's move on to let's move on. Well, just one point on that, actually, because you spoke about like Lokonga's you know, is it instruction or is it his actual game to go push out onto the left hand side? But you know, these are things that I saw when he was at Anderlecht. I picked this up when he was at Anderlecht. When the game gets kind of frantic, he picks up these wide positions. And at first, obviously, when you're watching it for Anderlecht, you're like, okay, maybe it is a coaching instruction, right? Maybe Vincent Kompany had him doing that. But now we're seeing it develop at Arsenal, which I'm thinking maybe it's just something that he does. And in a game like Brighton, where the conditions were, you know, they weren't ideal. And the ball kept breaking down when when we were going forward. I've seen, you know, the highlights of the first half, and I watched the second half. But you know, our attack seemed to be breaking down quite a lot, and you know, a lot of that probably had to do with connectivity. You know, and if you've got one of your midfielders in the left back spot, you know, too far away from your other midfielder, of course the ball is going to break down. Aubameyang was struggling to control it. So was Saka. Emil Smith-Rowe didn't have his best of games. Ødegaard didn't have his best of games. Partey didn't have his best of games. So, you know, these things matter. You need connectivity in the center of the park, And if one of your midfielders, you know, we've been moaned Xhaka for doing these things before. You know, the distance is too far apart. We spoke about Dani Ceballos doing this last season. You know, going off on walkabouts and stuff like that. If you don't have that connection in midfield, you're going to find it very, very difficult to, you know, to control the game. And I feel like that's what we struggled with on Saturday. And, you know, Brighton kind of popped us off the pitch for the first half, at least. You know,
I think that's a big issue that we have as a team. And we sort of touched on it a few times last season, but it's a big problem that we literally did not dominate the football game. For any point, like I feel like we maybe have 10 minutes of possession at a time, but we never just keep the ball for a whole half. Other than, I guess you can say Spurs that first half, but Spurs were basically playing with no midfield that match, you know. So I think we really, really struggle to deal with pressure of any sort. You know, we might be on top, we score a goal, or most likely don't score a goal, and a team that we're playing gets a bit of the ascendancy, and we never get it back. And it's now that our good spell is now done for the match, you know, and we never ever come back from it. And I don't know whether that's psychological, I don't know whether that's technical, I don't know what it is, but that's a really big problem for me, because the first 10 minutes of this match, we looked okay. I was thinking, yeah, this could be a decent little game. Saka was getting that damn burn. The moment Brighton stepped up it a little bit, that was our match done. You know, we literally didn't have another spell of prolonged possession after that. And that happens every time, even against Spurs, where we had that very dominant first half. They made a couple of changes. Dele Alli went off. And who else? The right back went off. Tanganga went off. And I feel like we lost control of that match. People say, yeah, we're 3-0 up, this, that, and the other. But I sort of see it as a wider issue. You know, even when you are 3-0 up, like go get a fourth, go get a fifth.
The thing is, though, Dan, I think it's indicative of the quality of team that we are right now. I think it's, you know, I'm looking at the players on the pitch, right? And we can talk about the conditions a little bit. And I don't really want to use them as an excuse, because we saw Brighton deal with it well enough, right? So it shouldn't really be an excuse, because if Brighton can do it, why can't we? But, you know, I'm looking at Aubameyang couldn't control a football. Just couldn't control a football. You know, Ødegaard didn't have a great game from what I saw. You know, from what I saw of him. Saka, not great. Pepe came on, didn't do that well. Partey struggled in there. We've already spoke about Lokonga. I didn't think Tomiyasu was as good in possession as he has been. I want to talk a little bit about Tierney as well. Players, they seem to be struggling with the conditions, and I think that's indicative of general player quality. I think this is the team we are, man. We're a 6th to 7th place team, 6th, 7th, 8th place team. And Brighton are exactly the type of team that are going to have spells in the game that's going to trouble us, especially at home. This is the levels, I think, and this is the Premier League that we're in. So yeah, I don't know how we rectify that other than, you know, getting better quality in.
I feel like I hear what you're saying, and I agree overall. There still needs to be a quality uplift. I think we can all agree on that. However, I still can't help but look at it and just think we should be extracting more. We should be making the team greater than the sum of its parts. I'm sorry, like, this team should be able to create more. This team should be able to... I just feel like for all of the supposed structure that is being brought, and that's all well and good, structure only means so much if it's helping you become a better team. So yeah, and I just think, you know, like I said, this is a whole thing under Arteta. We're just not a team that scores a lot of goals. There are teams with much less resources than we have. Do you know what I mean? If you think of Graham Potter, he's been at Brighton 6 months longer than Arteta has, but you can see his imprint in style so obvious every game, regardless of who's playing. You know, you talk about players missing. Basuma was out, Welbeck was out, Lamptey wasn't there, so they're missing players as well. Do you know what I mean? But right, but the level of performance they're able to turn in is much better. So yeah, man, I don't know. I feel like it's partly personnel, and definitely we need an uplift there. But I just think we can get more from what we have currently, and I think that's incumbent on the manager. So.
Let's go through the team then, because, you know, there were some performances that just a general observation from the game. I might actually start our way back from the front going to the back, actually. So, you know, just a bit on Aubameyang's performance. Obviously, he got that goal against Spurs. Generally, really good game against Spurs, better than we've seen him for quite a while, actually. I think everyone was quite happy with Aubameyang's performance against Spurs, his link-up play. But he really noticeably struggled in this game to, you know, get a foothold, to occupy Brighton's back three. You know, the ball was bouncing off of him. No connection to Odegaard, no connection to Saka, no connection to Emil Smith-Rowe. It was, you know, it was poor from him. And I felt like when Lacazette, I was actually looking at the game and thinking, do you know what? This is a game for Lacazette. You know, I think Clive alluded to it on the Arse Vision podcast. He said he called it something like a set and go or something like that, where it's simple tactic. I think we actually the Emil Smith-Rowe chance we made, yeah, where literally it was a pass into Lacazette, sets, pass, go long. And I think Laka, these are the sort of games that you're gonna get more of a tune out of him in. You know, it's these games where, you know, you just fizz it into him and get bodies around him and play it off of him. It's as much as we can say, you know, we talk about Aubameyang, these aren't his strengths. But Laka can actually do it quite well. And I felt like we actually started to look a bit better when Lacazette came on, just because he was able to get the ball under control, get us up the pitch, you know, get our forward players involved in the game. And, you know, I think in the second half we had, you know, a few good moments, I felt like, where we got into some decent positions just by going through Lacazette. And obviously we had our one big chance where, you know, it literally was that pass into Lacazette. And I think Partey played the ball into in behind to Emil Smith-Rowe, who maybe should have done better there. Like, I don't know if it was, you know, again, I don't know if it was the conditions. He looked like every single player on our team looked like they were scared to like fall over. Were they wearing AstroTurfs or something on a grass? I don't understand what was going on. Everyone looked like they were just falling over on their ass. Brighton players didn't seem to struggle with it though.
I just think the condition stuff is, I'm not having it, man. This is England, yeah. It rains in England. It's cold. It's windy in England, yeah. Like, if you can't play in the rain and the wind, you're like, what are you doing here? What are you playing for Arsenal Football Club for? I think that's such a lame excuse, such a cop out, because there's going to be plenty. We're literally going into winter, yeah. Almost every game now played on the weekend is going to be played in the rain. So if you can't do that, like let's like what are we doing here? You know, so I'm not having that as an excuse at all. I think that's so weak and pathetic to even mention the rain or the conditions as a reason as to why we were poor. When you're watching another team literally pop it around you, do you know what I mean? Like the rain isn't making your touch like higgy. Do you know what I mean? Like it might be a
Some of
little
our
bit
players it
slicker.
was.
I just think that's such a poor excuse, man. Like it's raining. After a couple times, you're professional footballers. You know that the ball is slick. Adjust your body and control the ball. Do you know what I mean? Like Erdegaard, I think he was a major reason as to why like Aubameyang was poor. Let me just state that before you know, people start saying I'm making excuses for him. Like he was poor. His touch was horrible. He got bullied by the defenders. And you know, expectedly so. When you see Dunk, Dan Burn, and who's the other one, Duffy, line up, you're basically leaving Aubameyang, who doesn't like physical contact in the first place, against those three. You're most likely going to end up with Aubameyang stinker. And I think what we needed was Odegaard to really step up in terms of him, and Partey to really step up in terms of keeping the ball. And getting those defenders turned, and we didn't really see any of that, you know. So I think those two really need to hang their heads in shame for why we were so bad. I think once they did come off, and we saw Pepe, not so much, but once we saw Lacazette come on, I do agree with you that that we did look a little bit better. But again, my criticism goes to the manager. Those changes came too late. Lacazette didn't come on till the 72nd minute or something like that, after Aubameyang was stinking up the joint. You know, I know he's the captain. I know he's you know, the top goal scorer or whatever it's supposed to be. I'm wearing a turtleneck because I just came back from work, man, and I don't have any shirts ironed. And the box is it's products. You get me? It's products. Got stuff to shift. Yeah.
Beard oil, yeah.
Yeah, bath salts actually. So
okay.
I'll drop the link to the Instagram
Yeah, do that.
in a bit. But yeah, so so yeah, that's my opinion. I think those two they were abysmal. Of our senior players, seniorish players, they were the worst two, I think, for me.
Is this art? Is this art de Roche? I don't think it is.
It's his burner still.
Okay, yeah. I think it might be.
But to be fair, that's a good point. You know, when we played against West Brom in the snow, no one was using the conditions as an excuse then. So yeah, I don't buy it. I just think I think on the day there were a lot of poor individual performances. Aubameyang was one of them. I mean, I've spoken about, you know, I feel like the way Arteta does what he does, I think the striker basically we look for next summer, whoever it is going to be a striker who tries to fuse, you know, Laka's and Auba's qualities together. So, you know, someone who can bring in his teammates into play, but also offers that threat in behind. So, you know, we've spoken, there's names, we put that out there, like the Osimhen, the Isak, the Vlahovic, those sort of guys, you know, they're sort of post-up strikers, in it. So they can hold it up themselves, but they'll also look to run the channels and move in behind. So they just have more of a varied threat themselves. So, and you know, with Auba, once you're under pressure and he's not someone who's going to alleviate the pressure for you, and it is what it is at this stage, and that's not going to change. So yes, I thought he wasn't great. I thought Odegaard wasn't great either. Especially, you know, Arteta talks about him being our conductor in chief. So he's supposed to orchestrate attacks. Everything's going to go through him, but it couldn't stick, and he was getting shifted off the ball far too easily for my liking.
Yeah, I think that change could have come a lot sooner. I think if you're a proactive manager, I think you can recognize that your striker is, you know, really struggling. And, you know, if your striker can't hold the ball, you can have all the amazing build up and tactics in the world. It's not gonna work. You're not gonna be playing great football. You're not gonna be able to get the ball up the pitch. So I think a good proactive manager recognizes that 55 minutes, you know, give him 10 minutes in the second half to sort it out. 55 minutes and says, look, this ain't working. Let's get Lacazette on the pitch, make it stick. it's the type of game, it's the type of pitch where, you know, you can fizz it in behind, you can get runs in behind, get Saka and ESR involved in the game. And yeah, I think Arteta just moved too late. When did Aubameyang come off? Maybe like 75 minutes, was it? I think we got about 20 minutes of Laka. Let me double check. 72 minutes. So like what, 18 minutes of it. And I think we saw an immediate improvement actually. And any surprises behind Ødegaard coming off for Pepe? I thought that was a bit of a strange sub, and also maybe not a strange sub in terms of like Ødegaard coming off, because I thought Ødegaard was quite poor. But what we ended up doing was obviously moving Saka out to the left and putting Pepe in the right in the right wing position. I just didn't understand it. I mean, why move Saka? Just put Pepe left wing. Just put Pepe left wing. Like,
they both want to play right wing in it, but I agree with you, man. Saka's better than him. So really and truthfully, if Pepe's going to come on, it has to be on the left. I don't really want to be moving Saka from the right. You've seen night and day in terms of performances from when Saka's on the left compared to when he's on the right. And, you know, obviously he was quite quiet this game himself, but you know, you saw within the first 10 minutes that he had Dan Burn on toast. Do you know what I mean? If we could have got the ball to him a lot more, he had Dan Burn on toast. I think he had him on toast last season when we played him there as well. So we just didn't, you know, we weren't keeping the ball well enough. We weren't working it well enough. So, yeah, I mean, obviously I got the logic in taking Ødegaard off. We moved ESR into the 10 and, you know, brought Pepe on, you know, an extra added goal threat. But it just it didn't really materialize into anything for us, man. And that's just, you know, my wider complaint about Arteta, because, you know, how often do we speak about when do we score late goals under Arteta? We just don't. We don't. Basically, you can count. Well, after the 70th minute, you know, Arsenal are barely going to create anything and we're not going to score, because that's just the theme of how it's been under him. And this is why, you know, I struggle with people who keep telling me to give him more time. I'm like, you know, like, listen, a manager, if he hasn't implemented his philosophy or we haven't yielded good rewards from it within the first 2 years, when are we going to yield good rewards? Do you know what I mean? Because I always use the Klopp as an example, because Klopp wasn't at a financially doped club. Do you know what I mean? He came in, he was working miracles with guys like Dejan Lovren, Moreno, Ibe, Benteke, Origi. He came in halfway through the season, he took that team to Europa League final, League Cup final. First full season, he got them into the top four. Season after that, they reached the Champions League final. Season after that, they won it. Do you know what I mean? So there's been tangible, and bearing in mind as well, one of the important things about Klopp as well is that I saw his style straight away. Even though his teams were gassing, you remember initially around the 65th, 70th minute, they were running their hearts out. And that's one of the disappointing things for me. Like, do you know what I mean? So, and it's been, and that's why I said it doesn't take 2 years to implement whatever it is you're trying to implement. Either you can do it or you can't. So for me, I've made that conscious decision that I just don't think Arteta can coach an attack. I just don't think he can. Regardless of who's there, you will do it. Do you know what I mean? It might have varying successes, but you'll be able to see it. So,
just to obviously go on your point about scoring late goals, like just a reminder that Arsenal actually only scored 8 goals in the last 15 minutes of games last season. I don't think we've scored 1 this season, and I believe we've only scored 1 goal in the second half this season as well. So, you know, I don't think we had a good second half.
Not for me. Not for me.
Maybe Norwich.
Norwich was okay. I didn't think that was good though. I didn't think it was good.
That's the closest.
Probably Norwich, yeah. Brentford, no. Chelsea, nope. City, no.
Burnley was like nice and
it was solid.
It was solid.
But I wouldn't say we were playing well. Do you know what I mean? So, and we weren't creating a plethora of volume of chances. Like I said, this is at what point can we judge him harshly? You know, there's a big sample size of Arteta games here. Do you know what I mean? A massive, massive sample size. And it's not been enough. It's not good enough. It isn't good enough. And I know people will throw the book at me that, you know, we've got like 6 new players and they're all under, and I understand that. I understand that they're all young. Do you know what I mean? So you're trying to build for the future. However, again, performances. They've played 4 games now. I've not really been that impressed. Do you know what I mean? I've not seen massive, massive green shoots where I'm like, oh my God, like we're about to bloom or we're about to blossom. I've just not seen enough. And for me, after 200 million of spending, nearly 2 years in charge, I need to see more. And it's just not good enough at the end of the day.
That being said, just to play devil's advocate, you know, obviously since he has got his players in and since he has got his team on the pitch, we've had 3 victories and a draw, right? 3 wins and a draw. I think after seeing the 5-0 defeat at Man City, I think we all were very dejected after that, right? If we should have done a prediction, really. We should have done a prediction to see how many points. We all said what we think he should be getting, you know, and, you know, otherwise his job will likely go. But is 10 points from those 4 games not, you know, like it was better than I expected us to get, if I'm being honest. At the time, it is better than I expected us to get.
He needed 6 out of 6 for me. You know,
he did. What do you mean 6 out of 6?
6 wins from 6, so he's got 3 out of 4.
But who does that these days? Who does that these days?
Man
City
what I'm
can't
saying.
even put 6 games in a row. Like,
here's the thing:
Chelsea
Man City will go on. Man City will go on a 15-game winning run. Do you know
they're
what I
Man
mean?
City.
Right? Like,
They're Man City.
Yeah,
But
so look, my thing is
what
this,
makes you think we're good enough to win 6 games in a row?
Look, it's not about whether or not we're good enough, right? So people are telling me, let's give this guy his players. Let's back the team. Let's do this that, and the other. Let's let him cook, right? He's gone to the summer. He spent 150 mil. We have 1 game a week, right? We literally have 1 game a week. You had 1 week to prepare for that Brighton game. Your tactics were wrong, and you weren't able to react in match because you were gassed off a North London derby. That's not good enough. You said no more excuses. He said no more excuses. Brighton away, if you have aspirations for the top 6, Brighton away needs to be 3 points. The same with our next 2 home games: Crystal Palace at home, Aston Villa at home. You cannot be affording to drop points in those games. Like, this is the thing. Look at the teams that we played in those 6 games, right? What's it? Burnley, Norwich, Tottenham at home, where they literally never beat us, and the 1 win in the last 21. Brighton away, Palace at home, Aston Villa at home. Mm-hmm. On paper, regardless of where those fixtures lie, you need to win all those games, maximum points. This is what I'm saying.
Not paid on paper, man.
Yeah, I hear you.
It's not paid on paper. But if we're making predictions, that's my prediction. You have to do that. It's not done in isolation. This, that, and the other. No, it's not mutually exclusive. But when we prepare for that game and to put up that performance, it's not good enough.
I agree with Dan, and also, you know, just to add on that point, Lewis, I think in isolation, if you took it 3 out of 4 wins, like 10 points from 12 games, is a good return. But when you've lost the first 3 games, it's not a good return. You now need to go on a big winning run to eradicate those 3 games. We're already playing catch up, so you know every dropped point now is whatever aspirations we have. We're denting them further. You know, we're playing catch up. Do you know what I mean? So for me, it's not, because this is supposed to be our friendly run of the season. Now we need to be picking up maximum points, and this is my issue. We need to be playing well, creating lots of chances, and winning. Apart from the Spurs game, where we're scraping over the line in most games. Do you know what I mean? And as Dan alluded to, for a team that's playing once a week, you have a fully fit squad, bar Xhaka, you have a fully fit squad, you have a whole week to implement your whole tactical plan, your whole tactical ideas. The team should be fresh, shouldn't be suffering from fatigue. What's the issue? You can't hide behind any excuse. You need to be delivering. Now is the time to deliver. Cool. You're not even, and also you could maybe even caveat it if you were 6 months into a new job. You're almost 2 years in December into your job. There's no time for any excuses.
So can I ask you guys a question? Say he beats, say we beat Villa and we beat Palace. You're telling me 5 wins from 6 is not good enough. It's not good enough because it's not 6 out of 6.
No, five. Go ahead, Glenn.
No, I was gonna say, here's the thing, yeah. Like, my thing is that would be what my prediction would be. Yeah, if you win 5,
you would predict us to win 6 out of 6.
No. That's what I said. That's what I want. That should be the minimum expectation, right? Because if you look at the fixtures, because Lewis, my thing is this, yeah. If you look at the fixtures, we should, and this is what I said at the start of the season as well. We should be aiming to hit 70 to 75 points, right? This season with 1 game a week. I think anything less than that, this guy is not good enough, because if, say, for instance, we finish top 6, we finish top 7, end up in Europa Conference next year, how are we going to get more points when we have 2 games a week? How are we going to get more points when we literally are not able to put winning runs together when you have one game a week. This is what I'm saying. Like, this season is all about points accumulation for me, right? And performances. So if you're struggling to you know, create chances consistently within a match, you're struggling to control games consistently within a match, you're struggling to put wins together consistently, what are you doing at Arsenal? What are you doing here? This is a time for him to showcase that he is able to get Arsenal Football Club consistent, good results. So yeah, 5 wins out of 6 is consistent, good results, fine. But then when it comes to the next batch, and there's a hard game here. We didn't lose that one. We didn't do this, did that, and the other. Do you know what I mean? It's not good enough. I just don't want to hear it. You know, people are talking about the rain and the wind for why you can't beat Brighton. What is that?
Yeah, listen, that's silly because one team on the pitch dealt with it, right? One team on the pitch dealt with it. But I don't know. I'm half being devil's advocate, but I'm half thinking I'm trying to be a realist here. I don't see any team in this league winning 6 games in a row. And I understand, yes, if you've lost your first 3, you have to get onto target. But if football doesn't work that way, like football is not we've lost 3, so we have to win 6. It's just if you're a football team that has lost 3 games in the Premier League, you have no divine right to go and win the next 6. You're not good enough. You are not a good enough team to go and win 6 out of 6. Yeah, I don't even know why we're expecting it. That's where I'm struggling to.
I hear that, Lewis, because obviously we're not good enough, right? Like, we're not good enough. And that's
to win 6 in a row.
But that's basically my overarching point. That's basically my overarching point, though. If we're not good enough to win,
but not many teams are, Dan. Not many teams are. Do you think Man United? I don't think Man United can win 6 games in a row. I don't think Chelsea can win. I think Chelsea and Man City and Liverpool are probably the only teams in this league who win 6 games in a row.
But as Dan just said, Lewis, yeah, if he's not good enough, why is he still here after 2 years and over 200 million? Why are you here? If you're not good enough to help us achieve and try and get to where we are, why are you here? Like, what are you being kept in a job for? That we've been sold a dream that you're Pep's protege, that you're the new, positional play master that is gonna, be one of the best managers in the years to come. So if we can't place a level of expectation on you, when can we? Do you know what I mean? You've been backed. You've got loads of people at the door. Everyone in the squad, you've either kept, you've extended, or you've bought. So this is pretty much 98% of your squad. Do you know what I mean? So everyone who's here, you want to be here. So really and truthfully, the onus is on you to make it work. Make it look a lot better than it is currently, because it's not good. It isn't good. You know the thing for me as well, I can't lie to you. You know me, I'm a drip merchant. I tolerate a lot of stuff if the football was good, but the football's boring. It's really, really boring. It is so stale. I don't enjoy it. Like, I just generally don't enjoy it. We have a lot of possession for possession's sake, but we rarely look like we're going to create triangles. You know, when it was Wenger, yeah? Like, think back to when it was Wenger, when it was like 15 minutes to go, it was 1-1 at the Emirates. Arsenal were camped in the opposition's final third, bro. You knew the goal was coming. You actually knew the goal was coming. We were battering down that door. We would finish games with like 25 shots on goal. Do you know what I mean? It was coming. And I've just not seen that. I've not seen any sign of that. Do you know what I mean? I've not seen Arsenal batter teams into submission under Arteta. And if that wasn't that the purpose of what you were brought in for, do you know what I mean? I remember his first interview. He said, I need to bring back Arsenal's ideals. Do you know what I mean? So he said, I didn't see it under Emery. Well, I'm not seeing it under you. And it's been 200 million. It's been 2 years. So it's got to get exponentially better. And obviously, I agree with your point. We're actually not good enough. But the whole point is you're in charge because you're supposed to take us there. So if after 200 million, you're not taking us anywhere near, the performances aren't supporting that either, then what's the point? What is the point? So, yeah.
Yeah, listen, don't get me wrong. There's no place to hide for Arteta. He spent his money. This is his team. My main point was mainly he's had his team for, I'm going to say, 4 of the games. Okay, because the first 3, I can't say he had his team. Okay, and that's, I think that's, yes, he should have done better in those games. Yes. But the whole thing is about giving him the money to spend and having the squad, having his team. For the 4 games he's had his team, we're unbeaten. 3 wins, 1 draw. Let's see if it continues. a few things that I wanted to talk about in this game is, for the first time in his Arsenal career, I'm seeing Kieran Tierney come under a bit of stick. And I think it's warranted. I think he hasn't had a good start to the season. I think about when Tierney first joined, and throughout last season, a big part of Tierney's game was how he attacks, right? When he gets onto a ball, there's going to be quality in that ball. There's so many times now he's in a great position in the box, and it's like a cutback that gets blocked, or an overhit cross, or like I wonder if there's a stat of how many blocked crosses Kieran Tierney actually has this season, because I think I would imagine it's quite a lot. I'm just seeing here, Brighton 3 crosses, 0 accurate. I know that's not a great statistic, but just seeing here, accurate crosses 0.8 a game, so 45%. I don't know where that ranks, but it just seems to me that there's something missing from his game offensively. I'm not worried. I'm not worried or anything, because I've seen Kieran Tierney enough to know that this is probably just a bit of a blip for him. Like, he's going for a bit of a spell of bad form. But yeah, I was just wondering on you guys' thoughts on Kieran Tierney, and when do we expect him to get up to full speed and be the Kieran Tierney that we we all know and love.
I think for me, I think the issue is probably systematic as well. I think we're sort of over reliant on Tierney getting up there and being able to put something in the box. That sort of that 5 lane of attack chat. I'm not sure I like the fact that Kieran Tierney occupies one of those channels, because we're basically asking a left back who pretty much has one post move, that stop start or the on the run cross, to be our main left winger. And I'm not sure that his game necessarily suits that. I think he's better when he's got a slightly deeper starting position and he's getting into those areas on the run, as opposed to him starting up there. Because I find when we do get it to him there, he's got to beat a man, or he's got to beat 2 men, or he's got to beat 3 men, and then get his cross in because he's sprinting at full speed. And I think what we saw in this first season, a lot of those crosses were hit from deeper areas. A lot of them were hit arriving onto a pass, as opposed to him just completely having to do it on the dribble from himself. And I feel like not having Xhaka there playing those balls in behind on the left, down that left channel, probably don't help him. And also, I think having a left centre mid cover for him when he's bombing up there doesn't help him either, because that's someone who you'd want to really be combining with your left back as they're going up. But you don't really see whoever's playing left centre mid, unless it's Xhaka and he's playing a bit forward. Like, you didn't really see Lokonga play any passes to Tierney on the run in that match at all. The ball's getting to Tierney very early.
And Lokonga play any bloody passes, to be honest.
Do you know what I mean? So I do think that Arteta needs to have a little think about this system and how exactly he wants to play it. I think it would be slightly better if we were less reliant on Tierney, let him be more of a left back and join in to those attacks as and when the opportunity arises, and you have more of an actual centre mid or a number 8 that can join those attacks instead. And get involved, and you get a proper, left winger, left centre mid, striker, left back connection, as opposed to our left centre mid playing left back, our left back playing left wing, and our left winger sort of drifting in between the channels, not really doing anything. I don't think that's the best use of resources. So I do think that is a reason why we're not necessarily getting the best out of Tierney at the moment.
I think I hear what you're saying. I think they're fair points. I just think Kieran Tierney is good enough to do better than what he's doing. Same way I didn't want to make any excuses for, we didn't want to make an excuse for the conditions and things like that. I just think Kieran Tierney's not playing at the level that he doesn't look as sharp as I've seen. Like, when he does that little burst past the player, I haven't seen that for a little bit, not with any consistency either. Maybe that has something to do with what you're talking about, Dan. You know, maybe some of the positions that he's taken up hasn't quite been able to, you know, get that running start. But Seun, general thoughts on Tierney? Have you noticed like a bit of a drop off in his performance level, and you know, are you concerned by it?
Yeah, maybe there has been. I can't say I've focused in on it heavily because I'm more worried about some of our other avenues of build up. Like I agree with Dan in terms of, you know, Arteta's copying Pep's 5 lanes of attack, but you know, when you look at City's 5 lanes of attack, there's not a fullback occupying those 5 lanes of attack. So you have the left winger, you have the right winger, then you have the left centre mid, the right centre mid, and the striker. So, you know, you have higher technical, higher offensive quality in those 5 lanes of attack. So while and you know, I'm a big fan of Tierney, but you pretty much can predict what Tierney's going to do every time. He's going to try and shift it on his left and cross it or cut it back, or he's just going to pass it back because he's not going to help to build up. He's not going to pass through the lines like that. So, you know, it's a lot of offensive load to put on a player that's not really a creative player in himself. Do you know what I mean? So, and to Dan's point as well, you know, the left centre mid, if you think for City, it's KDB. Do you know what I mean? So imagine you've got KDB there drifting over to where Grealish is. So, you know, you've got 2 very high offensive technical guys, you know, on the left channel combining, and then on the right channel, it could be like Mahrez and like a Bernardo. Do you know what I mean? So I think the lanes of connectivity are a lot better. I think it probably works a lot better maybe on the right, you know, now with Odegaard supporting Saka, because, you know, Tomiyasu's not asked to bomb forward in the system as well. So, yeah, I agree with Dan. I feel like I'd like to see, I don't know, it may depend on, obviously, if we switch to a 4-3-3 full time, then you might have like a proper left, like wide forward out there instead of Tierney. But yeah, I just feel like we're placing too much offensive pressure on him, and he's not a creator like that. Do you know what I mean? At his best, we know he can fizz in and he can cross the ball well, but is that enough? Is that enough variance for Arsenal? Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I feel, don't get me wrong, I feel like he hasn't been a worldie, but it comes back to, you know, Dan's wider point about just the system not support, because in an ideal world, you'd have to, like you said, you'd have the left centre mid supporting him a bit more as well. So, but Lokonga's very, very deep. Do you know what I mean? So yeah, I think like he's a bit isolated. The lanes of connectivity, I think the only pass he has on most of the time is maybe inside towards ESR. So yeah,
I don't know, man. I hear you guys' points, but from what I've seen, when we were basically Tierney or bust, and Tierney was our major offensive plan, I think he relished in that role. You know, I thought we saw some of the best parts of Kieran Tierney when he did have that responsibility. So I'm not too sure, man. I'm not too sure. I think,
but you know, also with that thing as well, like you said, relishing. Eventually, teams cotton on. So if that's going to be your only threat, teams learn how to nullify that threat. Then it becomes a question: of what else have you got? Do you know what I mean? So this is for me, yeah, increasing the variance, increasing, you know, the unpredictability of trying to break the lines, having players in certain positions, pulling other people out of position, and then, you know, getting it to Tierney if that is the option. But solely at to Tierney, it's too predictable. It's far too predictable. It's not helping him. It's not helping us. So you need to do more. The manager needs to do more.
Yeah. Just going over to the opposite flank, obviously, Tomiyasu. Had probably his most difficult game of his Arsenal career so far. He was up against I can't pronounce his name. Is it Cucurella?
Cucurella, yeah.
Looks, by all intents and purposes, looks like a very decent player. Looked to struggle first half, but second half, I felt dealt with him quite well. You know, it was a bit of a tricky game, especially as a defender in those kind of conditions. It can, you know, you make a mistake, it could be flat on your face, you know, especially against tricky wingers. Wasn't his best game. I don't think like it was probably his worst game out of the 4 or 5, maybe even the 6th game, maybe 5th. I can't remember, but yeah, probably his worst game so far. But anything to take from this performance is like, oh, okay, bit of a red flag there, or, you know, just nothing. No.
Not really for me, you know. Funnily enough, he's probably the player I worry least about. Like, obviously, he did get done a couple of times in the first half, but that can happen. Do you know what I mean? So overall, like, I think it was just symptomatic of what was happening because we were being pressed heavily out, and then Brighton always had the out ball on either flank as well. Obviously, with the 3-5, 3-4-3, 3-5-2, can't remember which one it was, but they always had the overload of the wing back as well. So sometimes you can often get doubled up. So I'm not that he's not going to face that every week. So I'm not even. Yeah, I'm just not that worried. Like I didn't think it was like I think it was because we hadn't seen it at all. That was the first time he'd been like gone past at all. So like it was a shock, but. Like it happened like twice, 3 times, and then it didn't happen again. So
Yeah,
I feel like
he shut up shop in the second half. I thought
he got to grip. He got to grips with it, which is also a promising thing. It shows that he learns very quickly as well. So it wasn't great, but I'm weirdly enough not that worried about him. To be honest,
it was a very welcome to England kind of game, and minus whatever. I don't know what the temperature was, and wet and windy and stuff. It was very welcome to England. Kind of football game to him, and he looked like he adjusted quite well. So I'm not too worried about him. I thought Ben White had another solid game actually. No bozo moment. Was there a bozo moment in this game?
No, I don't think there was a bozo moment.
Like
I think early his passing was a bit sloppy, but I definitely agree with you. I think he had a really good game. I think that was one to actually commend him about. To be fair, so no agendas here on this podcast. No agendas. No.
I thought, Ben White looked to be pretty solid, and him and Gabriel, to be fair to them, they look like they're making a pretty solid partnership at the back there. What's that? 5? No, is it 4 or 5 games together? I'm getting it confused. Is it 4 games together? 4 games together, 3 clean sheets, 1 conceded, and they've been pretty solid. If I'm being honest, like they've, Gabriel again, just. A colossus at the back again. It's another game where you look at the man and imagine it could have been Gabriel, an Arsenal man in a match.
Back 5 even, back 5.
One of the back 5 who, were, one of our better players. So yeah, Gabriel was solid. For Ben White was solid. Seun, are you, is your Ben White propaganda gathering up steam?
It's not gathering. It's not even gathering up steam. I do like the guy, but I've always said I thought 50 million was far too much that we paid for a minute. And obviously English tax and whatever. And I still maintain that he's not better than Saliba in my opinion. But hopefully he continues to improve, man. Like it was promising to see him winning aerial duels, ground duels. So he wasn't beaten. So that is a side of his game. Hopefully that he can continue to improve on. But show us more as well from the distribution side of things as well. Show me more, not just big. Obviously, I know you can hit the big switch, you can hit the ball in behind, but it's more of those intermediate value passes through the lines that I want to see as well. Like, want to see him like a fizzer, like a ball in breaking lines and, into Odegaard or something like that. That's kind of where I'll be like, yeah. That's more of what I want to see. But I think him and Gabriel and Ramsdale on the whole were solid again. So, no complaints from me from them.
These are the type of games. I know I made another reference to the weather here, but the weather is something in these games that can cause a difference with goalkeepers. I think when the ball is skidding around, and there was obviously that chance. I know Arsenal shamelessly posted about it saying that save. I mean, it wasn't that impressive, but I've seen them kind of things go in. Those kind of chances going, and I just think Ramsdale is at it. He's completely focused on the game, and his head is really in the game. It was a dominating display. I felt like, he didn't have much to do. We're not really. We're quite shot. Is it shot suppressive? It's shot suppressive, right? That's the right terminology. We're shot suppressive. We don't concede that many shots, although Brighton had 21. So I'm probably chatting shit. Just as I said that, I read 21 shots. So it's just like, okay, cool. But yeah, only 2 were on target, right? They were a lot of block shots and, shots from outside the box. So yeah, look, only 2 on target. He dealt with what he had to deal with quite well. Again, came for crosses quite well. Dealt with the conditions quite well. Man, just going around solid. Like 3 clean sheets out of 4 now in the league. Can't argue with it.
I told you I'm a couple games away still.
Couple games, just a couple more. Yeah.
from rescinding everything I said and buying some stocks still.
I've
But
already bought some $100. Yeah.
we keep it on the low. So yeah.
Yeah, don't worry. I've seen a 5% yield in the last week. In the last week since I bought that $100 worth, I've seen it go up.
Big him up, man.
Yeah,
You know,
yeah. Obviously, it's an international break. Not much going on. Our next game is against is it Crystal Palace? Did you say that?
Yeah, Palace at home, isn't it?
Palace at home. So this is a game that we, it's on a Monday. It's a Monday night game. So we've got quite a long way to wait, almost 2 weeks to wait into our next game. So you would imagine lots of training is going on behind the scenes. And I know we had a behind the closed doors friendly today, which we won 3-2. But I mean, who would have been involved in that game? Not really sure.
Started.
Yeah. Any idea on who scored?
No idea.
No idea on the team. But yeah, it's Palace have been, going pretty well this season. They've had some good results. Well, I say pretty well. I mean, they probably should have beaten Leicester at the weekend.
They should have beaten Leicester. They should have beaten Brighton. They're one of those. XG isn't actually reflecting on where they should be at the moment, because I've been very, very impressed when I've watched the Monday Vieira so far. Like, they press very, very well. They box you in especially at home. They put you under a lot of pressure at Selhurst Park. So it's good this game's at the Emirates, actually, because I think we'd struggle if it was at Selhurst Park a bit more. I feel
only Chelsea and Liverpool have beaten Palace.
Yeah, and that's just fair enough. Two top teams. So, and they've had a hard start. They've had Palace. They've had Liverpool, Chelsea, Spurs, Leicester. So to be fair, they've had a hard start. So fair play to.
They've only got one win though. I think, is it one win?
Yes, but
it's one win.
That's my second team. Yeah, so I can't take the L that match. Yeah, so if Vieira wins, then I can't complain.
Is there anything that you'd be changing for this game in particular? Like where do Palace's threats lie, and or just even just focusing on what Arsenal should be doing? Do we continue with the Partey Lokonga thing? I kind of want to give him more games. I do want to see, a bit more from Lokonga. I think he, should get a run in the team.
Yeah, absolutely. You need to give him as a young player time so we can see what he's about. So I don't think the problem is, when you're talking about changing it, what do we change it to? I don't really want to I don't want to move ESR Odegaard or Saka out the team, really. I'm not trying to see Lacazette, really. So I mean, realistically, where are you changing things? Do you know what I mean? So
we don't have to change things. We don't have to change things. I mean, just because you have a bad game doesn't mean that, maybe you replicate the performance that you did against Spurs.
Let's hope.
Give them another run out. Run out. But from what I'm seeing from Palace this year, I think their midfield has got a lot of legs. They're quite stiff. So I expect a sort of similar pressy-ish game from them that we got against Brighton. So, Lokonga, let's give him another game, but I wouldn't be averse to playing Maitland-Niles in midfield next to Partey. I'd like to see what that looks like, because I think there are midfielders with the most legs, really. So, otherwise, I don't think we really should be changing too much in that team.
All right, cool. Let's call it a night there then. We've got 2 weeks to look forward to of international football. So that's always fun.
Love the international.
Not like we haven't had an international break last week, a couple of weeks ago, was it?
Last month, yeah.
Brilliant.
I think there's another one start of November as well.
Absolute joke, mate. Absolute joke. All because of this stupid UEFA Nations League shit. Fucking hell, man. Ridiculous. Like who are all right, so it's the World Cup qualifiers as well, is it? Oh God. Anyway,
just bring back club football, man. Whenever it's international break, I just zone out. Honestly, I don't care. Like, until it's a tournament, I'm just got no interest.
Yeah,
zero interest in watching. So
yeah. All right, guys. Thanks for joining me. We'll be back again soon. Take it easy.
Peace.